This is my father's story written from his perspective. It follows an experience he had with a skinwalker on the Navajo reservation. When I was about 11 or 12, we lived in a small house made of mud and stone, a lot like our house now. It was two of my brothers and I in a house. Everyone else had gone to the Hamez feast and left us to tend the sheep. We were getting ready for bed when we heard the dogs going crazy outside. Thinking it was nothing more than coyotes howling in the distance, we told them to be quiet. We began to drift off into sleep and the dogs just would not shut up. Somehow, I was able to go to sleep for a few hours. Then I woke up very late in the night. It was very quiet and still in the house, save for my brother's snoring and breathing. I realized I needed to use the outhouse and woke up my brother to take me there. He teased me about being scared, which I certainly was. We went out with our flashlight to the outhouse. The dogs began with their crazed barking out in the sagebrush, going from one place to the next. My brother went first and I waited outside for him. While waiting, I tried to follow the dogs with my flashlight. Suddenly, there was a very loud whine from one of the dogs. Then everything went quiet again. It was really too quiet for that time of year. Not even the sheep were making noise. Suddenly, I heard a few of the dogs going completely mad by the truck. When I looked over, there was this man. He was unbelievably tall, leaning one arm on the cab roof of the truck. He was looking at the dogs for a little and then suddenly kicking one of them. They all scattered in different directions. The thing looked up at me and I saw its face. It had a pure white face, like a full moon, 2 burning red eyes, and a slight smile that was pure black. I could not move or make a sound. It began to walk toward me with long strides, until it finally towered over me. All I began to see was a dark red, like the color of the blood when you cut the throat of a sheep. I kept getting deeper and deeper into its eyes. I could faintly hear my brother coming out of the outhouse. With this, the thing looked up at him. Reality came rushing back to me. I noticed that my brother was too distracted with his buckle to realize what was going on. I also noticed this thing's long hands hovering just inches from my head. Its skin was black ash, and he smelled like a bloated dead animal in summer. I was still unable to move or speak. The skinwalker began to move toward my brother. Finally noticing this figure, my brother became paralyzed as I was. Closer and closer it drew, reaching an arm out toward my brother's head. Something finally snapped in me. I became unbearably angry. I broke from the trance and lunged at the skinwalker, raising my arms like a wild animal and baring my teeth at it. A growl came out that I never knew I could make. I became more angrier at the thing that was trying to hurt us. It kept that smile at first, but the angrier I got, the more the smile faded. Finally, with everything I had, I began to make this primal roar at it. It fell backwards and ran away into the night. Looking back at me, its eyes were dim and dull, its smile now long since gone. The next morning, the family returned home from the feast. After relaying the story to my parents, they quickly hired a medicine man. You all seemed to be interested in my dad's Skinwalker story. Here is mine, where it infected my dreams. I was 16 when the little doctor started tormenting me. At first, he played small tricks to scare me. Tricks like banging on my window at night, or whistling when I was outside using the outhouse. These tricks scared the crap out of me, but I always tried to ignore them, putting on a false bravado, and I did not even tell my parents. Soon the tricks got more and more mean. My cat went missing for a couple weeks before I found her dead body outside my window. She looked like she was mauled, not eaten, just chewed on. Then our sheep started to get sick and the lambs were either dying or going missing too. I would wake up most mornings with scratches and bruises during this time. Animal bones would be placed outside my window. Toward the peak of the attic, I started feeling a sharp pain in my scalp. There was a small bump causing it, and I asked my dad to look. He grabbed tweezers and a knife, making a small cut into my scalp. I saw my dad in the mirror with a worried look. He started giving me teas and getting me up to pray every morning. The trick stopped, but I still felt this fear in the pit of my stomach. I slowly became accustomed to this presence. It started to go to the back of my mind, and I slowly stopped drinking the teas altogether. When I had completely stopped drinking my dad's teas, I remember waking up late at night. There was rustling coming from my closet. Trying to ignore it, I closed my eyes. Then silence, an unbelievable quiet. Opening my eyes, I saw a tall figure standing over me. It had the features of a man and woman. It had huge eyes so full of sadness and pain. It leans down, inches from my face, and covers my mouth with a hand. Shh. He doesn't like screaming. Shh. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, sorry. It whimpered. I could not move. My voice had left me. All I could do was stare into those dilated pupils. The noise in my closet started to get louder. I was able to shift my gaze to the inky darkness. A leg came out, then an arm, and finally a face. "Hello, my child." His grin taking up half his face. He began to waddle closer to me, and all I could think was, he has too many teeth. Waddle, why are his legs so long if he's so short? Waddle, why does he look like a quilt of skin? Waddle, why does he have a child's head? Waddle, that's a doctor's coat. As he gets closer, his features are so grotesque. He looked like someone got random body parts and put them together. His smile is wide and fills most of his face. His teeth are rotted baby teeth, filled to a point. He reaches the foot of my bed and lifts the blanket over my right foot. "Ah, it seems like a good foot, large and calloused, good for running," he says, inspecting with large palms and 7 slender fingers. Then he reaches into his white doctor's coat and pulls out a large hacksaw. "I'm the doctor, my child. It's time for our operation." He starts to bring the saw closer and closer to my ankle, just above the joint. The tall figure still has its hand over my mouth, and I still can't make a sound. I look back into the slender figure's eyes. It is still saying sorry over and over. For a moment, it looks at the doctor, and something snaps. I kick the doctor and push the tall figure. Screaming as loud as I can, my dad begins to stir in the next room. The doctor jumps up, his smile now gone. "I'll be seeing you again, child." The two run into the darkness of my closet as my dad bursts into the room. Ever since that night, I started having night terrors. Things chased me, tortured me, and I have had many dreams of dying. These lasted for years before I finally fought back. Slowly, I was able to face my fear of the little doctor and his nurse. I am still recovering from that experience. Whenever I feel like a night terror is coming, I'll stay up the entire night. In the early stages, I had once stayed awake for 4 days. My dad helped me through much of the problems I suffered. It was not until recently that my dad told me I sleepwalk. He told me that it did not happen until that night. Most of my sleep problems didn't start until that night. The creepiest thing I ever did was apparently getting up and standing at the foot of my parents' bed. My dad said he called my name, and I just looked at him with a wide grin and whispered, "I'm so sorry."